Hello Internet, I'm HamsterBomb.
And I'm Zach.
And this is HITBOX, the gaming podcast that is just run by, I guess, two straight white men who need to talk about video games, because the world needs more of that.
How unique.
Yeah, look at that. So this time, we're going to be continuing this mini-series of HITBOX where we discuss who would actually win in a video game fight. Not like a lore battle of the characters. We're just looking if we could go into their game world and pit these two characters against each other, who would actually win. And we've been doing several of these so far. This is probably like the fifth, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
We're just looking at the characters who were base roster introduced in Smash Ultimate. Because there were so many new characters in that game, we decided to split it in half. We're going to do another episode later where we just do the DLC characters.
Yeah.
Which is actually, I think, more than this, too. So, or is it exactly the same? I think it's exactly the same. It'd be 12, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Or no, we're one short here, but still, it's a lot. So we'll get there when we get there, but for now, we're just going to shuffle these up as we do the tournament. I am going to have to argue for the character who is on the left, and Zach, you have the one on the right.
Yep. Alright, hey, we're shuffled.
Here we go. Let's see if in the game world any of this makes sense. I'm going to try not to get spoiled too much for the roster itself, but we'll see how everything goes. And the tourney, what did I push? Oh, I'm sorry, I hit start. You would think start would start things, but it doesn't.
That's asking too much.
Oh lord, look at this, Zach.
Okay.
Metroid and Castlevania are up against each other.
Huh.
Unfortunately, though, this is Dark Samus from the 3D Metroid games and Simon from the 2D. There are 3D Castlevanias, but
yeah, but he's not really in a 3D one, as far as I remember.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's kind of hard to even put them into the same game world just because of the 3D to 2D thing, even though the series both at one point have been 2D. For some reason, I can't really imagine Dark Samus as 2D, but I guess if we were gonna do that, just as Smash tells us, Dark Samus is effectively Samus again, a doppelganger, which is why, character's so tough. It's kind of hard to argue this one.
Yeah, okay, so
assuming I'm just regular Samus, let's try and figure that out.
Well,
but then I shouldn't have Screw Attack. I don't think...
No, you didn't have Screw Attack at the end of Metroid Prime.
Right, I don't think that Dark Samus ever has the Screw Attack, so this technically shouldn't even be in Smash Brothers. So I'm going to say Screw Attack is gone. I'm Samus without Screw Attack and without a Hyper Beam.
Right, because she defeated the original, or the Metroid Prime without all that stuff, so this is just it trying to replicate the strongest thing that it knows, which is Samus at that point in time. So,
right, so if that's the case, I think those two things are why Samus kind of dominated our first tournament of the N64 fighters. So without all of that, a slightly nerfed Samus, just from all of the series together, I still think is going to put up a serious fight against Simon.
Right.
Going to figure out how that fight's going to go.
Right, so, because usually what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to take each character and put them in each other's universe to try to rationalize how things would go. Like, if we decided to put, for sake of simplicity, what if we did put Dark Samus into a Castlevania game, an old-school Castlevania?
Okay, so I am just a boss in an old-school Castlevania game. I can imagine, basically all the... If there's any character I think got really done dirty in this game, it was Dark Samus. Dark Samus either should have just been a palette swap of Samus, if this is what they were going to do, but if it was its own character, it should not have any of the same moves. Dark Samus doesn't fight anything like that. I expect, like... you remember the Pokemon anime where they use Double Team? Where they basically just, like, make copies of themselves, but only some are real? Dark Samus does that a lot, and I would think that needs to be one of the moves that Simon needs to figure out which are the real ones to hit. Probably some sort of visual indicator, but still. Not as much as an aggressive thing, that's just a way to distract you. Dark Samus uses a heck of a lot more Phazon than Samus. Is effectively the hyper mode variant of her from Corruption, which is busted as all get out. Might even be stronger than having Screw Attack and the Hyper Beam, because it's basically a Hyper Beam.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because basically it's Simon going up against, like, basically a like one of Dracula's lieutenants or something.
Yeah, and this would be a serious boss, I can imagine, later in the game. And also a smaller target, which is not helpful in Castlevania. Typically, the bigger they are, the easier they are to fight. Right. Because you can chuck axes their way, maybe stun lock them with holy water.
Yeah. But yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, all Simon ever really has had was his sub-weapons and his whip. But, I mean, I guess with the old ones, too, you had the ability to throw multiple sub-weapons on the screen at once.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, usually before a boss, they usually put in a lot of those, like, 2-hit or 3-hit icons. So, I mean, if we wanted to give them that.
Yeah, and to hit, or really to fight at all in Castlevania, you have to be close to use that whip.
Right, and how do you do that with someone who has projectiles?
Yeah, this is... Dark Samus is purely a projectile fighter and is extremely quick.
Yeah,
and is
exactly.
Like I said about the doubling thing, Dark Samus's moveset in Prime is all about getting away from you and being very fast and being able to dish out the same punishment that Samus can.
Right.
I don't think this looks good for him, but that's at least if we were doing it in Castlevania's world. I think Dark Samus would win there.
Right.
Can we think of like a 3D?
The only 3D Castlevanias I can think of
like the 64, aren't they?
Well, there was the 2 on the N64, and there was a couple on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. In those, they were more like beat-em-ups. They weren't exactly like action platformers. They were more like, you know, the first one that I could think, Lament of Innocence, was like a Devil May Cry with the very basic combo system. Yeah,
and the one that I keep thinking of in my head, maybe it's just because it was the last Castlevania I played, was, I still can't get the name of this right, I'm going to try this. Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate.
Yeah.
The 3DS game. Where I do play as Simon Belmont, and strangely enough, developed by Mercury Steam, who would go on to make the new Metroid games.
Right.
But it's still a 2D game, and it plays a lot like Samus Returns, actually, and kind of God of War, but 2D. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if we're looking at that, he's very strong in that, but it's also really easy to die in that game, because it's very counter-happy with how you have to fight. It's not bad or anything. It's actually quite good. I'd recommend giving it a shot if you can. Mm-hmm. But not against Dark Samus, though. No, even in a 3D environment, now you just have, like, an even weirder way to try to hit things. Because, you know, if you have the whip, unless if you're, like, just doing God of War with his Blades of Chaos, which is not usually what which is usually not how the whips work in the 3D Castlevanias. And just to point out how we're thinking about this again, keep in mind, had Kratos been in this game, this would be a great example of where the lore... Forget about the lore, we're talking about the game. Yeah. It's really easy to die in God of War, even though you're playing as Kratos, who should be this immortal, ultra-powerful God of War, unless you're playing the first game. Yeah. Then he's just a very stubborn demigod. But still, in that case, I feel like we're looking at a character versus a villain who was not designed to fight him at all. Right, who was designed to fight a much more powerful character in their world. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like this is an unbalanced fight just because they were never meant to do this. Yeah, I can't really see how, you know, aside from memorizing some sort of stupid pattern like you had to with Slagra and Gaibun and Super Castlevania. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it looks too good for one of my favorite game characters. I know, I don't... Hey, you know what? You got another chance coming later with another certain somebody. Till then, though. Yeah. Oh, no! Yeah, I don't see Simon winning that. Yeah... Even if you could somehow do a 3D first-person Castlevania and you've got your whip, you've got your axe. Can you imagine being put in the room with Dark Samus and not dying like 15 times and oh my god, not giving up out of frustration? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there was a coincidentally there was a mod for Doom where it was basically a Castlevania game. That's cool. It was really cool, but I could not get that far. Some of these are going to be gimme ones because we don't have... I think they have 11 fighters this time, so it's not going to be perfectly leveled. Yeah. Oh, dear. I am Princess Daisy, and Zach, you're Ridley. Yep, captain of the Space Pirates. All right, I concede. So, I don't know. At least so we can talk about this. Princess Daisy, as opposed to Peach, doesn't have a game all about her where she is able to do all the fighting herself. She's basically just the princess from Sarasa Land, the Mario Land games on Game Boy. Yep. And plays tennis and golf, and I think that's it. And races. And races, a go-kart. Yep. So in her games, you actually can't fight. This should be a victory by default. Yeah, I'm so sorry, princess. Oh! I got you. No, you didn't. Hey, at least I'm gonna die with grace. This way. I was thinking about... We didn't even have to... We'll obviously talk about Ridley when he has an actual fight. Yeah, I was gonna say Space Dragon versus kart racing
sports playing princess.
What are we gonna do if does Daisy now? Oh no, it's Ridley, of course. I was gonna say, does Daisy have to go against Isabelle? Because Isabelle's another one of those.
Oh, that'd be
defaults.
hysterical.
This is interesting.
Oh,
We're gonna be stuck here for a while. The Inkling versus Ken.
Huh. Okay, so...
How does an Inkling even win a fight?
Well, because I know, and see, this is where my lack of Splatoon knowledge is not very helpful in this situation.
Well, the goal of Splatoon is never to
get the most kills. Yeah, it's the most area covered with your color.
Yeah. How do we do this?
Okay, Ken is not weak to water. He doesn't die.
But that's not water. Water kills them.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, how does... Yeah, Well, because see, there's the salmon run, I know that much, where you do have to take on waves of, like, melee enemies.
Okay, so maybe we should treat Ken... We'll stay in the Splatoon world, because this is the harder one.
Yeah.
Let's treat Ken as that giant salmon monster that they gotta fight.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm also not as keen on the Splatoon stuff. I think it just came out a little too late for our generation to go into play that.
Yeah, like, I want to try the third game. It actually looks really nice, but I don't...
If we were 10 when it came out, I bet we would be all over this and figuring it out. That's the big thing. We're both over 30 at this point, so we're trying to figure this out as a disenfranchised two old white men talking about video games on a podcast that the internet doesn't have enough room.
Right.
So I'm gonna say to try and defeat Ken. How do they even technically defeat the salmon?
You just shoot it a bunch.
I thought that's all they did. So if that's really it, let's just say that this is damage, okay?
Yeah.
It's not much, but it's damage. I mean, you have HP in your game, so let's just say that that's like 1 point of damage per frame, which is actually what Smash is doing, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So let's say I gotta get you to 100, right?
Yeah.
The Inklings do have HP.
Right, and they've got multiple weapons at their disposal, and they don't just have... they've got the ink bomb.
I was trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, there's the megaphone weapon, which just basically shoots out a giant cone of AoE damage.
Right.
And
you can also hide, too. That's the main thing I was thinking here.
Yeah.
You could duck.
You can
because you have no way to change the color of the ink. So for this fight... Inkling does have the advantage of being able to put whatever color they want down and hide in that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So in a fighter, that's pretty good. If you can just say, I don't exist right here, I dodged your Hadouken or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could just dive in and just, that's a... again...
However, this is my form of attack.
Right,
you know,
that's your only form of attack, I think.
Outside of, like, splat bombs. There are splat bombs, but...
Right, but
yeah, I don't think this thing was much intended to be an attack. It's more of a Smash Brothers thing. I think in Inkling World, if you hit another one with it, you obviously, you're doing something, because you're coating them in the wrong color. I don't see the Inkling winning this. I've done all this to try and justify it, but I just don't.
Well, because here's the thing.
Can't you guard in...
you can guard in Street Fighter, You know, and also, too, that dodge would probably be broken in a Street Fighter setting, but, you know, it's like...
Eventually, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
there's silly, gimmicky characters in all sorts of fighting games.
Right, and this would be... And the Inkling would be an example of a silly...
Goofy fighter. One. Yeah, the fighter is just, I'm so hard to hit, but my downside is I do next to no damage.
Yeah, like a weird mix between Blanca and Dan, or some weird... I don't see this really working out either way, for just especially a solo Inkling, because Salmon Run, you have to do that multiplayer, because you can't take on all those waves of the evil salmon.
Well, even if it is just one person, Ken is... He's not weak by any means. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work well for little old me.
No, unfortunately.
Nope. Sploosh! Yeah, I don't want to be that person and just like say, there's no chance with the character from the game that I haven't played as much. But to be fair, I think we tried to exhaust every avenue we could before we said the Inkling can't. Even if it's just a guy. I mean, Ken's really he's got some sort of weird magic attacks, but he's just a guy. All right, so now we're on to round 2. All of the weird freebie matches are over. Okay. So Zach, you can tell me how Isabelle is going to defeat Dark Samus?
by passing a law saying no evil goo aliens allowed.
Yeah, I'm sure Dark Samus is gonna be all over paying attention to that.
I will get the Tom Nook Mafia in here. Timmy and Tommy have got connections.
Uh-huh.
You know they do.
Uh-huh.
No, please. I have so much laws to pass. Okay.
I don't see any excuse. That's another one. It's a victory by default.
Yeah.
Isabelle can't fight. Now, you would think we would have taken these out, the victory by defaults. I feel like they added more of those kind of characters lately. Like, ever since the 4th game of Smash Brothers, and then this one, they added a lot of those that are like,
But they were highly sought after.
Yeah, it's a popular franchise. I get that, but... hey, this is at least a fight.
Yeah, right.
So, Ridley versus Incineroar. I don't think Incineroar has a chance.
Well,
at all.
If we put poor Incineroar in the Metroid universe, probably not. But what about in a Pokemon battle?
Sure, let's try that, because I agree for sure. There's no way Incineroar's gonna win.
Poor little Incineroar just wanders into Zebes.
We could try to figure that out with like the. He's in the Tekken game, right?
He's in I think.
No. That's Decidueye. I don't think he's in the Tekken one.
Oh, probably not. No.
But either way, it's not too hard to imagine that he is because he's in this game. So let's just imagine that this 2D fighting Incineroar is in Metroid, and you're fighting like the Super Metroid Ridley or Ridley from any of his other 2D incarnations.
Yeah.
You're doomed.
Yeah, right.
Ridley is meant to be like that endgame boss to check and make sure, did Samus collect enough missiles and super missiles and health expansions to even survive this horrible brute fight where there's no gimmicks.
Right.
It's just incredible power. He's huge. He's like quadruple this size.
Yeah, right.
And then Incineroar's base stats, even if we're taking that into consideration.
Yeah.
I think they even brought this into Smash Brothers. I think you're the slowest runner in the game. There might be like Robin or someone who might be slower, but Incineroar's extremely slow. That was my walk is faster.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you would totally. If he was trying to escape that, no way.
For how quick Ridley is too, for like whipping around the field, and this is not gonna work. Okay, so let's go to Pokemon. Ridley, dark flying, fire flying.
Yeah, or dark fire maybe.
Dark fire.
Because
who just happens to fly? Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. There's, versus what, a fighter fire?
Either way, I'm gonna say. Even if it's dark or fire, those are the two types that Incineroar is. So
yeah, exactly. Okay.
Using fire is not going to do so much, and using fire is not going to do so much.
No, because
regardless, same for dark. If we decided it was dark, so let's just say fire to make it easier.
Yeah.
Because this is obviously a fireball.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So if that's how that goes, and your dark attack is going to go through. Let's just say that all my regular ones do. So all the tail skewers. The
claw attacks.
Yeah, the claws. The swipes. It depends on which Ridley. Say we're looking at like spoilers to some Metroid games. All right, I said it. Samus Returns.
Yes.
He would annihilate you.
Yeah.
That is actually the only time I believe he was straight up the final boss. Of the game too, and it shows. You can collect everything and still get your butt handed to you, and that's also the one where they gave Samus the Aeon gauge. So she could start, like, using ridiculously OP attacks and stuff just to try and match Ridley. Yeah, there's no way that cat's gonna survive.
No, I mean, because he would just be more like a high-powered enemy, because he's not Samus. He's not going to be able to use the missile and all those other upgrades. Yeah, I'm
trying to compare him to an actual Pokemon, and he really would be a legendary tier. That's how powerful.
Oh, God.
At least. He if anything, Pokemon doesn't really have stuff like this, but he would be like a boss. There are some fights in Pokemon now where they're trying to have bosses.
Oh yeah, like the Energy Dragon from Sword and Shield.
Ultra Necrozma. There was the Kyurem supposed boss fight, even though I one-shot killed it with a Marowak, of all things. Pokemon's still not hard or anything, but I'm just saying they're trying to have bosses. Ridley's so much stronger than any of that.
I don't think either. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you got anything against that big Dargon.
Space Dragon for the win.
Which means I think Space Dragon has to go up against Dark Samus in a bit. Now that's gonna be confusing. That's like the big 2D. Well, we'll have to take a 3D Ridley, I think.
Yeah, which there's a few.
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, we'll have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're taking Richter, the survivor of that Castlevania thing. Lucky you had an Echo Fighter in the ranks, so you had 2 chances to progress here.
Yeah.
Versus Ken. Okay,
all right.
So now I think this is easy to straight up say we are in a 2D fighting game.
Yep, easily.
And with that, I think it's pretty obvious to see how Ken's gonna fight. Let's just say I'm a boss in Castlevania, because this should be the easiest transformation thing. My health is an average mid-game boss, I'd say.
Yeah, like a mid-stage boss or something. Yeah.
And I have the ability to throw fireballs at you, so I can still fight from a distance if need be. But this boss would be dangerous up close, basically the entire time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And of course,
so you'd be racing to either try and get away from me and chuck stuff at me, or hold me still with
with the
axes,
holy water, and all that. Yeah, exactly. I think, given the way that those games are designed, and you are supposed to at least be able to beat them, I don't know. Well, that aside, though, it's like I think Richter could probably clinch that.
I think so too. It's kind of hard to tell, but remember,
Rondo,
we are allowed to do the most powerful versions of the character, and in Street Fighter, that's the character.
Right.
So Richter eventually becomes very powerful, so I feel like he...
Yeah, and the more you play with him, because he's up until that point, he was the most mobile and agile of all the other Belmonts. He had that backwards flip, he had a... slide and a kick that he could do in order to be able to do damage or break the candles and stuff. And of course, the whip upgrades that he can always get through the stages.
Well, you've even seen him as a boss. We've already started spoiling things, so who cares at this point?
Yeah, right.
Basically, have you started Symphony of the Night? You would know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we've actually seen him as a boss. So if we just took that boss, the AIs, the attacks, everything, and just threw Ken into that fight, what happens if we let go?
Just item crash every time, especially if I've got enough hearts. The cross item crash, the Hydro Storm, Holy Water one. Yeah, even with the being up close.
Let's just say it's just him, too, because I know some of his attacks, he can, call on Maria, right, and get some help?
Not in Rondo, no.
Well, I'm thinking of the introduction of Symphony.
Oh, yeah,
He technically can. He did it, but let's ignore that, just because we're trying to just have the one character.
That was an easy mode to reintroduce things.
Right, and it would actually make it so easy, he could not fail.
Exactly.
Against anything. He would eventually win.
I think in a Castlevania fight, like I said, I think Richter clinches it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to justify Ken. I mean, Ken hits really hard.
Yeah, because there are, the werewolf boss in Rondo of Blood.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, because he's very agile. He's very much a melee fighter, all about kicks, jumping and clinging onto the walls and doing dive bombs to you. Yeah, even then, the werewolf boss is not exactly the hardest one in that game.
I think in either case... I'm going to eventually lose this.
Yeah, because in a fighting game, I've also got the range and the all the other
I would say though that if we're trying to put numbers to their HP, I would say Ken would probably be if Ken's 100, I'd say Richter's probably 70.
Something.
I think he's gonna have lower HP. Ken probably would even have a better defense, but all the stuff that. All the tools you have over me, I don't really think that it's going to work out.
And that's usually what we've been, that's usually what we've been finding lately, is that it's the versatility and the ability to adapt.
To be able to beat all sorts of other characters you were not designed to fight.
Exactly.
Ken was designed to fight a bunch of melee characters up close.
Right.
And, I mean, sure, that's going to work for a while, but, yeah, I can't contend with everything.
Right, exactly. That's the problem. Well, see ya. Here you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the end for Ken. And, hey, at least a Castlevania is going to progress. If this ends up also becoming another Castlevania versus Metroid, this is an interesting video.
That would be hysterical, actually.
Yeah. Well, it depends who is going to win this fight. Oh, this is going to be tough, actually.
Okay.
Good luck with your Crom knowledge. I'm King K. Rool, for the record, if you're just listening to us.
Yeah.
So King K. Rool versus Crom. I know a lot more about K. Rool than I do about the Fire Emblem stuff, so...
Same.
How about we at least just talk about the K. Rool?
Okay,
How about first, when you think that you've killed me, we'll play the credits, and then I get a free shot on you by stopping the credits midway and coming out and attacking you.
Right, exactly. That lovely beginner's trap.
Yeah, it got me. It got me good.
Oh, it did? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a shame.
It got me so good. Because, like, anymore, when I beat, I play so many retro games, I'll get up and I'll get ready to, like, take a picture of the screen. I'll like wave and have my hand out or like, thumbs up, and I'll share it to Twitter. I'm standing up, getting ready to take my picture. And all of a sudden, the credits stop. K. Rool comes out and starts destroying me. I was like, whoa!
No! Yeah.
It's cruel. It's K. Rool. So, this guy, he does have very traditional attacks from Donkey Kong Country. You just saw me throwing the crown. He's got the big boxing gloves from 64. That's actually if we're doing it in a 3D game, which let's just say all of his attacks translate into moves he can use in this turn-based RPG.
Yeah, because because Crom does not really have much in the way of platforming abilities.
No. Yeah, we'll just say this is... Also, when you fight him, you're on, what's the name of that, his ship?
Oh, the galleon.
Gangplank Galleon?
Yeah,
that's
Gangplank
the
Galleon,
yeah, okay, so... You're fighting him on a flat terrain anyway, so there's no jumping involved.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that.
I don't think Crom has much in the way of magic, because he's all about sword techniques from what I remember.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. From my recollection, your main character, Robin, was the magician who had all that stuff, who could use swords too. Obviously the jack of all trades for the player to choose.
Yeah.
But, Crom was more of like the simple swordsman hero character.
Yeah, the muscle in that relationship.
Yeah, and if we're looking at it in terms of a lore perspective, obviously the male anime swordsman is going to beat the evil crocodile man.
Yeah, he's basically just a minion of whatever dark dragon's being resurrected in this time around. Yeah.
However, you're just a playable character. Even though you're in an RPG and can level up, I'm the end boss of most of the Donkey Kong games.
Yeah, which would equate to like a mid-game or a very late-stage boss.
I'd say late. So this is going to be a tough fight, and you have no team. And in a strategy game, if you're by yourself, you're doomed.
Yeah.
You're already doomed.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't see you being able to contend with something especially as bad as that.
Oh, the reflect move. Yeah.
Now, does he actually do that in any of the Donkey Kong games?
I
don't think so.
That was made up, but the thing is,
I think this is just his crazy defense.
Well, that's in relation to the original fight in Donkey Kong Country. You could not roll into him at all because he was so fat or so like.
So if that's it, maybe for the strategy RPG, attacks from the front do no damage.
Yeah, or half,
or just
something.
Deflected.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you'd be able to cut through. You would basically have to maneuver Crom around and try and get a hit on the back.
Yeah, which I don't think is much of an issue in the Fire Emblem series. That's more like a Final Fantasy Tactics or
but every
strategy.
turn you would do that.
Yeah,
you're right on top of K. Rool. He obviously just turns to you and does some powerful move.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if you're trying to run away, I can still hurl this stuff at you.
Yeah.
I don't remember which, was it like 2 or 3 had that move?
2.
Was it 2?
Because he was Captain K. Rool at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like the Frankenstein doctor in the third one.
Yeah.
So...
I don't see it for Crom.
I don't either. I think there's just way too much power he has to contend with to try and deal with K. Rool.
By himself, especially.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Imagine playing Fire Emblem, and you have to start a fight with just one person, and you're fighting an endgame boss.
Yep, with your main character, who, if he dies, just loses the game.
Yeah, you're right. Start over from your new save file.
Or load a previous save from 2 hours ago, because you forgot.
Exactly. I shamefully admit that's probably the main reason I'm not into Fire Emblem.
It's that permanent death part, that I just cannot get into.
Okay, so we now have 4 serious fighters, and now we're gonna have the real conversations. Who would actually win, Dark, Samus, or Ridley? And the next one will be Richter versus K. Rool. And then, obviously, winner's going to take all. Let's do 3D Metroid first, because that sounds easier.
Yes.
Though I think...
Well, I mean, it's both.
2D...
It could be both, really.
Sure, but 2D Ridley, I think, is a little stronger than the meta forms he's shown up in 3D.
Yeah, although...
A little bit, not much.
Although he was very, like, spongy in the first Metroid Prime, from what I remember.
Yeah, he takes a lot of punishment, and you're just hurling plasma beam shots into him, and super missiles and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's still very powerful. And actually, I also remember in Prime, you could get those charge upgrade missiles unique to each move or each beam, and super missile was just the regular power beam one.
Plasma was the flamethrower.
Yeah, you
Ice
had
was the
yeah, exactly. You have all that stuff like where you could just. It was an excuse to just shoot tons of your most powerful stuff into a boss and just watch it still shrug it off.
Yep.
So in that sense, even if we are in 3D, I think you're right. Ridley is going to be a serious problem.
Yeah.
Dark Samus has been the final boss of 2? Technically?
Yeah, Metroid Prime 2 and...
I'm not going to count Prime 1, because that was a different beast. We're looking at Dark Samus, which is that species taking a new form, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So if that's what I am, I would rather be the iteration, I'd say at the end of 2, probably. It's probably it's whatever you want to say. Their most powerful state, unless we're counting the end of Prime 3, but it's kind of more it manipulating on other thing. And you're literally blowing up the planet of its life source.
Yeah.
Which, if we were doing this in lore, Ridley inevitably loses because he in this fight is not destroying planet phase. So
exactly.
As long as that planet is alive, somehow it is keeping Dark Samus moving. Even if it's disintegrated, Wolverine style. But in the game, I don't think Dark Samus can do this.
Yeah.
Even though it's a smaller target, it is the target. Now I'm arguing against myself. It is the exact same shape that Ridley was designed to fight. And it's even got all of the moves, really, of the thing that Ridley's designed to fight.
So Ridley, at this point, would definitely know how to go up against someone like Dark Samus.
Yeah, and he's literally programmed to do it. This would actually be one where we could theoretically mod this and make it happen. You know, put a hostile Meta Ridley in his boss arena in Metroid Prime 1, and put a hostile Dark Samus from Prime 2, put them in the same room, and just wait and watch what the AI is going to do. I've got a feeling that Ridley dies. No, sorry, that Dark Samus is going to die, because... You know how hard it is to shoot Ridley when he's flying away? So it's not like Dark Samus has an advantage of getting free shots.
No, exactly. I mean...
Let's just say that the Hyper Beam that Dark Samus has is a strong iteration of what Samus's Power Beam was. So maybe, like, even if each shot I have is a super missile, then we've got a conversation. But,
right, but that's not the way the character acts.
And she doesn't, she doesn't, like, fire those like crazy.
Because I don't think Dark Samus ever really does fire missiles, do they?
Missiles, I don't think, no.
Yeah, so then they couldn't even
I'm pretty sure no.
Yeah, they couldn't even use the powered up
Same for the Morph Ball Bomb. That's just a weird relic of them not wanting to design a unique Dark Samus for this game. For time's sake, I'm happy they at least did this. I'm not groaning at all. Hey, we have 2 new Metroid fighters in this game. I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
But still, I think it'd be close. I mean, we're looking at 2 bosses from the same series.
Right, exactly. But I kind of agree. I think
3D.
Ridley,
in 3D, I don't see that working.
and in 2D, even less so for Dark Samus.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say because let's just say that their HP is the same.
Yeah.
In 2D, and we dropped in a Dark Samus version of Samus in Super, and you're dropped in that room to fight Super Metroid Ridley, which is, in my opinion, kind of harder than fighting a 3D one. Assuming that's the case, that would suddenly be a fight. I feel like it would go either way every few times you would roll it. It's kind of hard. I don't know. It's like, how do we gauge how much damage that ridiculous beam will do? That's not too hard to dodge, and Ridley's pretty fast.
Yeah, it's that flight. That's the thing that just keeps doing it for me.
Right, and I'm pretty sure in that one in Super, if you screw attack, you deal no damage to Ridley, but at least you took none.
Exactly.
And Dark Samus doesn't have this. So...
I still think Ridley
yeah,
had
I
this,
don't think I've got this.
No.
I mean, this is... It's one of the most powerful, characters in game history, but
yeah.
I don't see...
Oh,
okay, I'll give that to you, Come on, hold on. Right in the butt. Woo! Yeah, yikes. Lore-wise, though, it would go the other way, but that's not what we're doing.
Nope, we're trying to go as purely by mechanics as we possibly can.
In which case, yeah, Ridley is...
And doing this on the fly, too, so...
Yeah, right. Well, because we don't know, based on the shuffling, who's going to go up against who. And I think last time we had an interesting one where... I don't remember who it was, but somebody would have never progressed had they faced somebody else, and it was really weird.
This was like a Bayonetta Mega Man thing, I think.
Yeah, that was it. It was Bayonetta versus Mega Man.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was interesting. So, yeah, check out the other episodes. Obviously, there's more of these.
Oh, yeah.
Richter is now the one I'm going to be arguing for, and you have K. Rool, so this is interesting. We've swapped the roles around.
Yep.
You know what? Who just lost to him? Was it Ken?
Ken, yeah. No, it was Crom who lost to
It was
K. Rool.
Crom.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound hypocritical here playing favorites, but I think this is a big difference of saying Crom is fighting King K. Rool versus Richter fighting King K. Rool.
Yeah, no, we're talking about two totally different genres.
Yes, Richter is made to fight by himself, and he's actually made to fight in a 2D platformer.
Yep.
And he's actually also made to fight from far away with a bunch of tricks to try and hold you steady.
Yeah, so...
hurl stuff at you.
Right, because I would just charge like that, and yeah, you can
Yeah,
just
and
do
that even
stuff
comes
like that.
back on the backswing. So even if we're saying the front shields you,
I mean,
man, I could even run from you and simply just fight with this whip.
Yeah, because K. Rool was programmed to have high, defense anyway, so I think that would transfer real easily into...
Castlevania.
Yeah, exactly. He would just be one of those end-stage bosses
Big sponge.
Yeah, exactly. Like the mummies or the Frankenstein monster. Yeah.
Which are some of the easiest villains to fight.
Right.
Or bosses to fight in Castlevania.
Yeah,
in my opinion, at least. I mean, I fought Slagra. And this guy is the literal antonym of Slagra. He's Slagra on diabetes.
Yeah.
As if it's a medication you take.
Well, to you in the future.
Well, because he can't afford his insulin because it costs an arm and a leg, a literal arm and a leg in this country.
Yeah.
Anyway, from my perspective, I think this is a much more interesting fight.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think you're still gonna lose. Because for one, I have these, and if they really do stun, that's the game.
Right, and
I could even go in saying I'm just specifically going to take the holy water. The fight's over.
Well, and the thing too is K. Rool was made to fight a character who dies in one hit.
Good point.
Richter has a health bar. So that
we can determine it. Maybe even if it does like a 10th, probably like a 10th of his HP.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 blocks or something each run in. Yeah,
he's still gonna be fine.
I think so. Yeah, I think. Puny human. No, human! Please! I can do it! Oh, no! Yeah.
Whippity whippities.
Whippity whip.
We get to have the fight of the century.
Oh, hey, yeah, the one you were saying was gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. This is probably one of those where, at the very beginning, when I was conceptually thinking of this sub-series, because like I said, I always think about, like, characters. How would they actually fight if you could mod them into each other's games?
Yep.
This is one of the most interesting ones to me.
I agree. This will be fun.
And, of course, look who got who. I have Ridley, and Zach has Richter.
My favorite Belmont.
Yeah, and,
my favorite game.
favorite Metroid villain. And, yeah, from my favorite game.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Because this is very fair. This is extraordinarily fair. It's actually so fair, I don't know what to do.
I know.
How do we start with this?
My uncle worked for Konami, okay? He told me how to he told me how to beat Dracula.
Okay, so we can say you have a fully leveled up Richter, and I am the end game 2D. Let's just stay 2D. Like the Samus Returns, final boss, Ridley to face, because that's probably the stronger iteration.
Which is the Lord of Shadows Mirror of Fate version, yeah.
Yeah, which is actually that's really easy. The same developers are even going to be working on that. In that case, I don't think there might have been a counter. I think there was a counter or two with Ridley, but they were really hard to do.
Yeah.
There was only like a frame or two before he actually did it, and he had like this after-image claw swipe thing.
Yeah,
that you had to perfectly count. It was insane. So, I don't even remember doing it. I was like too scared to do it because if you screw it up, you take heavy damage. It's not worth
Especially if you're playing in fusion mode.
Yeah, which I was.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why you do that to yourself.
Well, there were 3 save files and 3 difficulties, and darn it, I bought that amiibo. I fought hard for that thing, so I was gonna do it.
That's fair.
Okay, so this is not gonna be an easy fight. If anything, I'm gonna to try and do my job of arguing for Ridley.
Okay.
I can fly and back up and get away from you, and I'm designed to fight someone who has projectiles.
Right.
And not even just like I can throw an axe. I mean like shoot all the way across the room and try and safely hide.
Yep.
So Ridley will fly back, fire the fireballs at you, which you'll have to somehow dodge all of those, which they each do damage. It's not like you get hit by one, you have iframes for a while. You will just boom, 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 eat all of them up.
Yeah.
Then quickly swoop in, do some sort of heavy physical damage, of which you're probably going to want to run from or dodge, and then he's right back in the sky, fireballs at you.
Right.
That's how he fights.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he actually does do the claw swipe thing in Samus Returns, if I'm remembering correctly.
I want to say yes. I just remember
I know
watching
this was
the final fight. I never had the game personally.
I heard this was inspired by the Smash Brothers Brawl cutscenes, where which then got taken into Other M. It's been a weird thing going back and forth with people just not knowing what to do with Ridley's 3D moves. But anyway, in my opinion, don't see Richter winning this. But you've got to find some really creative sub-weapon to pick for this fight.
Right.
And excuse to how you're going to somehow damage me when I'm flying up in the air.
Stopwatch.
Just the stopwatch? I think...
well, that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, I'm down on the ground, but...
Yeah.
The stopwatch, even when you use it against, say, like a Medusa head or something, right? Like something that can, like, move around. Sure, you stop it when it's low, you do what damage you can, but I'm pretty sure... Doesn't the stopwatch just, over time, just keep depleting your hearts till you're out?
No. I mean, it uses up a bunch of hearts when you use them.
Oh, so it's just like 5 seconds or something, and then you gotta spend another, like, 15 or hearts
something
and get
like
10.
That. Yeah.
Okay,
that would be one way I could probably do it.
The downside then is you don't... I kind of feel like it might be better to...
Just to go with, like, the axe or the boomerang,
Something that can throw high, because it needs to be up.
Yeah.
And I remember that Samus Returns fight in particular, he's almost always at a 45-degree angle up away from you. That's why I kept doing this and, like, trying to fire fireballs down your way. Just rain hell on you.
Yeah, visualize it. Yeah. But again, like I said, with the agility that Richter has versus other Belmonts, I feel in some regards that Richter could probably keep up with Ridley in some form or fashion.
I feel like if you modded them together, given enough tries, you can do it eventually.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, I feel like that's not going to end well for him. He's just not designed to fight that thing.
Right.
What if we switch the game? Say it's Super.
Okay.
Because that's a lot easier. Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just say that Richter is Simon from Super. Fair? Okay, say he's Simon from Super Castlevania, and then this is Ridley from Super Metroid. And the Super Metroid room gets a good arena.
Yeah.
And let's just say that's where they're fighting. I'm mostly over your head doing, well, Slagra slam attacks with my tail. Skewer. Takes no damage in the tail.
Nope.
Unfortunately. Which means you'd have to get out of the way and, like, attack. You can whip up. You can do all the directional stuff.
Right, well, in Super you could.
You could also attempt to do that trick in Super where you go to the far left corner, duck down as Samus. Ridley can't skewer you.
Oh, yeah.
And can you kneel and whip up in Super Castlevania?
No, because then you have to let go of the crouch button in order to whip up.
Yeah, if that were possible, I would say that now we've got a fight. I think you can do it because you have the best exploit to fight him in that arena.
Right, but unfortunately, no.
And it only lasts for so long. Eventually, he gets up and grabs you because that's...
Yeah, he's like, no, you get out of the corner. Of that. You fight me for real.
And I'm pretty sure there's no counter to that grab either.
Like, I don't believe so.
If that's coming, you're gonna get grabbed.
Yeah, because a lot of times if you ever get grabbed or if you ever get stuck in something in a Castlevania game, you just kind of have to take it. You can't fight your way out like you can in Super Metroid where you can just missile Ridley in the face.
You can do that?
Yeah.
I thought you were stuck when he grabs you.
No.
Well, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you don't have
the
to
only
just sit there
grab
and take
I
it.
knew that you could escape was when you're fighting Dragon, and you could shoot the pods on the walls to grapple beam and just like charge electricity through your body and kill him faster than you, hopefully.
Yes.
But the Ridley one, no. I just tried to desperately dodge him because he's Ridley.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any comparable thing? Like, I mean, you can increase your HP and your coming with a max hearts, but that's not like Samus, who just gets a full 100 points energy tank every time she finds one, and then super missiles.
And we're not exact. And even if you play oh my lord, Symphony of the Night as Richter,
right?
You still don't get the health upgrades and the heart upgrades like Alucard can. You still have to play the game like a traditional Castlevania.
So if you were Alucard, this would probably be much harder for Ridley.
Alucard would definitely have more of an advantage like Samus does. Yeah.
I wonder if we could do one with the assist trophies after we're done. Now that I think of it, there's so many that are just downright silly. You know, like the Fly Swatter and Mario Paint. We couldn't have conversations.
Alucard versus Grey Fox.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you can't beat me with a weapon like that.
CQC, dude. But yeah, I'm not sure, dude. I want to say that
I'm trying to not lean on my heart says Ridley because that's clearly favoritism, but I'm trying to imagine
this is like
beating Ridley.
Boss,
trying to beat Ridley where I'm playing as Richter. And the thing about the Castlevania games is you're supposed to feel really powerful, destroying a bunch of crazy horrors of the night, but you're actually just a human and you're really frail, and that's kind of what keeps it scary still.
Yes.
Metroid's not like that. Metroid, you're this super-powered space bounty hunter who has literally every weapon she ever finds along the way at her disposal, and she can use them all at the same time. Richter, you just gotta pick one that you had last.
Yes, because in Castlevania originally, you don't power up like that.
Right.
You don't have the ability to grow. It's not a power fantasy like that, where Metroid is that power fantasy of just owning everything once you get enough upgrades.
Yeah, it's kind of an RPG in that sense, but if we're just looking, especially the old Castlevanias,
which is what I'm
like
going for. Yeah.
I don't see any of that working your way.
No, I don't either.
No, as much as I'd like to see more of that going that direction. Eventually, you're just going to take one too many fireballs from far away, you can't reach me, and then just grabs. You can't stop.
No.
I didn't see this working with Ridley going all the way.
Yeah.
Genuinely did, and that's kind of surprising. I guess I didn't want to bias myself by looking at the whole map of like who the characters were and who I think is actually going to win this one.
Yeah.
I think when we kind of went through this in our head before we filmed this episode, we were planning on the Smash DLC being packed in with the Ultimate roster.
Yeah.
And for the sake of time, obviously, this is already a full episode. We're going to have to save those for later.
Yes.
But for now then, we have Ridley, who will join the ranks of the winners. So we have Samus from the first one, which would be... that'll be very basic and interesting. We don't have to imagine too hard to see them fighting in the same arena. In Melee, who did we have?
You know what? To save time, I will look this up later.
Yeah, they're popping up on screen. Wait, no, they're not, because you should just go back and watch those episodes, gosh darn it. / listen to them. I'm still trying to get them on Spotify. I'm sorry, I'm trying. It takes a lot of time. Baby's birthday was this last week. She's 2 now, so I was a very busy boy. I literally filmed, edited, and uploaded all of my Playing With Myself episode of Ninja Gaiden yesterday. And we're recording this the next day. Yeah, I get 2 weeks on those, and I still have to do everything on the last day. I was so tired. But I'm looking forward to this finally wrapping up. I'm kind of curious, like, who would actually get through this whole thing. Like, in terms of the game world, if we somehow made a Smash Brothers where they all fairly were on their own terms, who would somehow come out on top of it all? I guess I'm not too surprised that a final boss monster is making it here.
Well, we got 2 more episodes after this, so...
Yep, we have the DLC for Smash Ultimate coming this next one. We're going to do both passes, by the way, smashed together.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're just going to take the winners and put them in a bracket of their own and see who wins those. That's probably going to be another full episode, even though it's much less fights, because we're going to have no idea.
We're probably going to be fighting tooth and nail, like, no, remember this mechanic?
Yeah,
no, there's this mechanic.
Like, how on earth can Mega Man not beat Samus or something.
Yeah,
Oh, that's gonna be so hard if that happens. And that's the luck of the shuffle, too. We don't know who's gonna get put against who.
Yeah.
But either way, that is all the time we have for this episode of HITBOX. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to this episode. Remember to like the videos and subscribe for more. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Boom!
See ya.